Hi, Healthy Bakers. Today we are making a cleaned up version of a classic apple pie. So we're going to start with our crust, and I've got 2 cups of flour swap, 1/2 cup of granular sugar swap, and a little bit of salt. I'm mixing this well. Now this is a double crust recipe because we're going to use half of the dough for the bottom of the pie. We'll use the other half to create pretty shapes for the top of the pie. All right, and then we're going to pour in 1 full cup of well-stirred room temperature butter swap. Now we're going to add just enough water to get this to a nice crumbly consistency. It's about 2 to 4 tablespoons. I'll start with about 2.5. I'll start mixing, and we want a nice crumbly dough that sticks together well when it's pressed. Too much water is gonna leave you with a more soggy pie crust. Nobody wants that. We want a nice, crisp, buttery, flaky crust. A little more water, and we'll keep mixing. This should be good. Now for my final mixture, I'm going to go ahead and get in here with my hands, make sure that it sticks together well when we press it, just like that. And this looks about perfect. I'm going to use some avocado oil and grease my pan well. And then let's pour about half of our pie crust in our pie pan. Smooth it out really well. And then we're just going to start pressing this crumbly dough, pressing it firmly into the bottom, and then working it up the sides of your pie dish. I have a 9-inch pie dish here. Now I'm going to use the other half of my crust that I have here, and I'm going to add a little bit more water. This is going to serve, it's going to be a lot easier to cut out your holiday shapes if your dough is softer. So let's just make a nice soft dough that we're going to then press out on a piece of parchment paper and cut out our shapes for the top of our pie. So this looks just about right. I've got a piece of parchment paper down to make cleanup easy. I'm just going to spread my dough out, press it nice and thin. Got my little leaf cutter, and I'm just going to cut out a bunch of these little leaf shapes and put them to the side. That's what we're going to use for our final assembly. Now, let's par bake our crust at 350 for about 8 minutes, and then we're going to start our apples. I want you to see here, I am working with the grain-free flour swap, so this dough is going to be a little more crumbly, a little more hard to work with, but you can see it's coming out of the pie cutter super easy. It's no problem at all to work with this dough. And if you feel like you have too many of these little cutouts, you can always just bake a few separately, dip the bottoms in chocolate, and then you have a nice, beautiful little chocolate dip cookie that you can add to your Thanksgiving table. Okay. I just wanted to quickly show you the difference. Same dough recipe, just made with our whole grain flour swap. And we've got a nice crumbly dough consistency, sticks together well when pressed. And we'll do the same thing. We're going to put half into our well-greased pie pan, save the other half for our cutouts. This next part is what's going to set the Detox Sizzler apple pie above all others. So I'm going to take a big stock pot. I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of water, 3/4 cup of granular sugar swap, 3 tablespoons of flour swap, 1/3 cup of well-stirred room temperature butter swap. Got 1 teaspoon of allspice. You have 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And finally, 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. I'm going to move this to my stove and we're going to simmer it until it thickens and creates a nice buttery, almost like a caramel sauce. Now I'm simmering my caramel sauce for just a couple minutes. I want to turn that down. It's going too high. There we go. And then I'm going to add all my apples into the sauce. I'm going to stir it, and then I'm going to put the lid on tight and actually cook down my apples for about 10 minutes just so they can soften, and it's going to decrease our bake time on our pie. So let's mix the caramel sauce through the apples well. I've got my nice tight fitting lid here. And I'm going to go ahead and just simmer this on medium low for about 10-15 minutes. Now you can see here my apples after 10 minutes are somewhat soft. This is absolutely perfect. They're covered in this drippy sauce. And now we're going to load our par-baked crust with the apples and bake. I've really pressed my softened apples into my par-baked crust. And now I'm just going to top with my cute little leaf toppings, decorating it. And then I still have the oven heating at 350 degrees. I'll use a pie shield, and we are going to bake for about 45 to 50 minutes. The vented foil will allow our pie to fully bake without burning the crust. Just go ahead and tent it up. The steam will escape. Those apples will soften. And I'll have a perfect pie. So 350 degrees for 45 to 50 minutes. And I just wanted to demonstrate the whole grain cutouts. They actually cut out a little bit easier than the grain free, but both of them are pretty simple. They work great. They make for a really cute topping decoration for any holiday pie. We've got both of our beautiful apple pies here. The whole grain will have a few more slowly digesting healthy carbs, but they're gluten-free, high fiber, and our grain-free pie will be the lowest carb, more paleo, keto style apple pie.